How many practitioners do you work with in your team currently?
Yeah, so there's 5 physicians at GI for Kids, and I believe 9 nurse practitioner or physician assistants. GI for Kids was my first encounter with PerfectServe. I think prior to that, we used kind of the old school pager system in residency, and then same at Vanderbilt.
I'd love to hear about that on the pagers. How did that work for you as a physician using pagers the way they have?
Yeah, yeah. In residency, I actually carried around the little pager box. It'd beep at you, you press it, see what the number was, call it back. In fellowship, they had devised a way, I suspect, to get the pager to roll over to your cell phone. So I didn't have to carry the physical box, but it was still through the paging system. So I did receive text messages sort of through the pager. I did not like carrying around the pager, and I still don't really like being on call. But certainly not having the physical device has been nice.
That's something I've talked to another nurse practitioner about. They mentioned that doctors really don't like taking call. It's something they don't frequently enjoy because they want to work on top of license practice or things like that. Is that accurate? I mean, do you agree with that or additional?
Oh yeah, for sure. Call is work without pay. It disrupts family activities. It disrupts my kids' birthday parties. It disrupts sort of everything, and we do it for free. So yeah, calls sort of a necessary part of what we do, but nobody loves it.
Yeah. And so when you did take call or when you do take call, what are the types of calls you tend to get the most that you're seeing when they come in?
The majority of calls are parents who are fearful that whatever their child is experiencing may be threatening to their health or life. And so that may range from my perspective from something very simple and benign to something that's actually severe and needs to be, emergently dealt with. But in general, it's parents who are very concerned for their child's health. Occasionally we'll get calls about medication refills or appointment times or difficulty, for instance, with a colonoscopy preparation. But that's, probably the gamut of things is those calls.
So it is pretty serious typically when you get kind of dinged or paged for something.
It can be. I think the person who's calling, they may have a high level of fear, depending on what it is. The condition that they're calling about may or may not be actually severe. So we're sort of there to help triage that and either point them towards an emergency medical service like the emergency room, or give them instructions for sort of ongoing care or reassurance.
And so before PerfectServe, what was that like for you having to manage that flow of those calls coming in?
Fellowship was pretty similar in terms of the paging service. It was, like I said, it was a physical pager that was routed to my phone. It went through a Vanderbilt secretary. So there was some degree of transcription between what the parent was saying and what I was being, sort of what information I was receiving on the text end, but it was sort of more paraphrased, I guess. It's relatively similar to that, what I'm currently using, compared with residency, where it was just a phone number to call back, a huge upgrade. I wouldn't necessarily know, what I was calling back about or to who I was calling.
And so when you started adapting to PerfectServe, was that your decision too? Like with the practice, like, hey, I want to use this, or is it part of the whole GI for Kids, the whole team is
Right.
using it now?
No, PerfectServe, we had already been using PerfectServe at GI before I arrived. I think somebody from PerfectServe reached out and said that there was a text option available. And that was something that was very interesting to me. A lot of the patients that call are worried. And so when you get a page at 1 a.m, for instance, and they've left you a voice message, their tone of voice might be loud or jarring. And so you sort of wake up to, it almost felt like a jolt of lightning to me. So I didn't like waking up to somebody who's yelling on my voice message. And so having that converted to text form has been much gentler. I'll still get paged at 1 a.m, but instead of, hearing somebody's intensity in their voice, it's already been converted into a text. And when I read that, it gives me a moment to wake up.
And I bet that is jarring for a lot of physicians who have to get these dings at like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. And you're just like,
Exactly.
is it
Yep.
really urgent or is it not? I mean, I need to know.
Yeah. I mean, I got a call the other night. They were wondering how long the child is going to have to remain on a certain formula. And it was like 1 a.m. I was like, well, this is, probably better addressed during the daylight hours with your primary physician, as opposed to 1 a.m. with the on-call doctor. It's sort of very non-urgent concern. So there is a fair number of those kinds of calls, but certainly when they're like stressed or anxious or worried, their tone of voice is a little bit intense. And so waking up to a voice message for me with that intensity was a little bit too dramatic. So being able to convert that to a text has just been worlds better.
That's great to hear. In fact, what you shared, I think has helped a lot of physicians too that we help. And so now with the current state of communication you're experiencing and working with the team, are you using PerfectServe as well to message between the nurse practitioners and other physicians? And
No, yeah, I think we're definitely interested in additional applications or messaging services, communication with patients. I think that's always sort of a tough thing for us is we want to be able to communicate everything, but very efficiently. So if we're running into any sort of barrier that impedes our ability to communication with somebody, it ends up being a time suck and there's no extra time. So streamlining our communications is always a high priority, but also doing that in a cost-effective way. I love the text option. It has been a game changer for me. It's definitely a quality of life improvement for a very low price. So I'm going to keep it.
yeah, and hopefully it'll mitigate those late night interruptions for you.
Totally.
Cool. Well, thanks for what you do too, helping families and their kids with that issue, a lot of their internal issues. It's a life changer for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. We work through a lot of physical and psychosocial and emotional well-being needs for kids, and we're glad to do it. It's a lot of fun here.